Hello guys, welcome to Miguel Moran Videos, and today I'm going to be discussing match day 1 of the FIFA World Cup. Please, if you haven't seen my channel, please like and subscribe. We will get started. Alright, for the first match, we have Mexico versus South Africa. As you guys know, the World Cup is hosted in 3 different countries: Canada, Mexico, and Canada, Mexico, and the U.S. To start it off, the first game is going to be located in Mexico. This will be like the opener back in 2010 between Mexico and South Africa. This is South Africa's first appearance in the World Cup since hosting the World Cup back in 2010. Mexico is trying to get out of a disappointing 2022 World Cup. However, this will be an interesting matchup as Mexico is very deadly at home against South Africa. And my prediction, I think Mexico will go through with the victory against South Africa. I think it's going to be relatively easy because they're playing in Mexico and Mexico is very unstoppable in the nation of Mexico. So I'm going to give them 3-0. For another Group A matchup, the game coming after, which is at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, is the Czech Republic and South Korea. South Korea is led by Heung-min Son, who is now with the LAFC, actually, but he's been a perennial Premier League player in the Premier League. Czech Republic has a really good side: Subak, who was previously at West Ham, and they got the striker at Leverkusen. I think this game could go either way. However, this is like an Asian powerhouse nation versus like a mid-tier UEFA nation. So I'm going to edge towards South Korea. I'm going to say they're going to win 2-1 against Czech Republic. But Czech Republic is no slouch, so I think you can put South Korea on top. For the next day, it's going to be Canada versus Bosnia. Canada is another host nation that is hosting the World Cup. It's another country that's hosting. Bosnia has had a rough road in making the World Cup, and they have done it. This will be their first World Cup appearance since 2014 against Canada, whose last appearance was in 2022. The star man for Canada is obviously Alphonso Davies. Let's see how he does. And Jonathan David, who is now at Juventus. As for Bosnia and Herzegovina, you have Edin Dzeko. However, what's impressive about Bosnia is they weren't really supposed to make the World Cup, but they beat Italy. They did what they were supposed to do. And they're a mid-tier European nation, and Canada's a mid-tier CONCACAF nation, in my personal opinion. I'm going to give Bosnia 1-0. Actually, no, I'm going to say 1-1 draw between Bosnia and Canada. The last but not least, the host, the United States, another host, is facing off against a South American upcomer in Paraguay. With the U.S., you have a really strong side. A lot of their side is now in Europe, and there's going to be a lot of questions about the U.S. men's national team when they play. How do they mesh with a Mauricio Pochettino side? And Paraguay, they've looked really good in South American qualifying. They've looked really solid. Their star man is Miguel Almiron, who was previously at Newcastle United. And in my prediction, I think the U.S. beats Paraguay easily. I'm going to say probably, if the U.S. plays their game, I think they win 2-0 easily. After that, we get to the rest of the nations, which will start on Saturday. The first matchup will be Qatar and Switzerland. Qatar won the Asian Cup with a really strong side. Not a lot of their players play in Europe, But Switzerland, they have a lot of players that play in Europe. And usually when you play in Europe and you play like in a lot of top five leagues, in a World Cup standpoint, that does matter because power rankings do take in consideration clubs that players play for, and a lot of Swiss players play in a lot of like the top five leagues. You got a lot in Germany, you got a lot in Italy, a lot in France. And Qatar doesn't really have that strong side. So I think Switzerland can easily beat Qatar 3-0. For the next matchup, I have Brazil and Morocco. Couple of years ago, everybody would say, Brazil's easily beating Morocco. Brazil's superior to Morocco. This World Cup cycle is a little different. Morocco is a really strong side with Achraf Hakimi and their previous 2022 World Cup run. Morocco has a really strong side, and they can challenge Brazil, and they have beat Brazil in friendlies. But Brazil managed, Ancelotti kind of has gotten Brazil kind of settled. So I think when you look at it, it's fairly even. But it depends on how Brazil's attack does. If it decides if Neymar's going to show up, Vinicius is going to show up, who's going to show up for the Brazilian national team? Because the past couple World Cups have been really disappointing for Brazil. But as for Morocco, they can ride through the 2022 World Cup run. Quote unquote, they're African Cup champions, which I don't believe. I think it belongs to Senegal. But Morocco nonetheless has a really strong side with Brahim Diaz, who does really good with the Moroccan national team. I'm going to give this edge to Brazil, though, because Brazil's attack is really good. They have a really complete midfield. Rafinha is one of the best players in the world, and he's been doing well for Barcelona. So give me a 3-2 Brazil win. Last but not least is Haiti versus Scotland. Haiti's first World Cup in a while, and Scotland's first World Cup in a while, so fairly rusty. Scotland's always going to be a really strong side when it comes to UEFA. They're more like a mid-tier UEFA squad, even though they got a lot of players in the Premier League, which does take into account a lot of things. Haiti has a lot of players that play in France. Haiti has good teamwork, but Scotland, I think, being led by Scott McTominay, is gonna be really impactful for how Scotland does. So if McTominay does play like how he does at Napoli, I think Scotland has a good chance. And with Haiti, you don't know too much about them, but UEFA, they're a really solid side. So I think it really depends on how Haiti does against other competitions. Personally, I'm going to say Scotland 1-0 because McTominay might score, and I think he's going to have a really good tournament for Scotland. Next up will be Australia and Turkey. Turkey is one of the strongest sides in Europe. They're considered a mid-tier UEFA competition team, but a lot of their star players, Arda Güler, he plays for Real Madrid. I think he's going to be very impactful. This guy from Juventus, what's his name? I forgot his name. But he's a dog, though, and I think he's going to be really good. I know Manchester United had a goalkeeper. I think Turkey is going to obliterate Australia. I don't think Australia stands a chance against Turkey, especially with Arda Güler, Yanez from Juventus. I don't know how to say his name for you. Yilmaz from Juventus. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but I think Turkey's going to destroy Australia 3-0. Next up, Germany and Curacao. Germany, 2014 World Cup champions. That plays a role. Germany has a really good young side. Jamal Musiala. You got Manuel Neuer, who's coming back from retirement. He's probably going to be the number one. Germany's defense is really good. That midfield. Did they call up Angelo Stiller? I think they did. But they did have a lot of losses with I think they lost they lost one of their right backs from Germany. Josh Kimmich is on the Germany national team, so Germany's always going to be a contender with their side and their name and all the high attacking power. With their star player that you got to watch out for, Jamal Musiala, one of the best players in the world. Curacao, congratulations, first World Cup. They looked really good in qualifying, which means a lot for debutant nation. And I think for Curaçao's goal is they're going to kind of get a lot more players in Europe. They're led by Thais Chung, which is an interesting fact. He is the only player on that national side that is born in Curaçao, and he was formerly at Manchester United. But I think Germany wins 4-1 against Curaçao. For our next matchup will be Netherlands and Japan. Both continental powerhouses. Japan with Miyamoto from Brighton, who's one of the best dribblers in all of Europe and one of the best dribblers in the Prem. Hochimura as goalkeeper. He's one of the best goalkeepers for the Japanese national side. Japan has a lot of legends, but I think the Netherlands, being a UEFA powerhouse, Netherlands is still always going to be a dangerous side with their midfield led by Frankie de Jong and Matthias de Ligt at center back and Virgil van Dijk. That pairing is going to be deadly. Frimpong's out, which is not good, and Timber from Arsenal's out. That's going to hurt the Dutch side, the Royal Orange. But still, Matheus Depay, I think, is still on that team, and I think Matheus Depay on the international stage is one of the best strikers in international competitions. In like a knockout stage, he'll give you like 5 goals at minimum. 4 to 5 goals at most, probably like 6 or 7 goals. However, Japan has really been growing as a nation. They have a lot of players that are playing the Premier League now. Ito from Liverpool, he was formerly at Liverpool. I think Japan's side is solid, but I think they can do a lot of great things in the tournament. I'm going to say a 2-2 draw. Next up, Ivory Coast versus Ecuador. Ivory Coast and Ecuador were in the World Cup last. Ecuador almost made it out of the group stage, but I think they lost to Senegal, so that didn't help Ecuador's case. But Ecuador is one of the best teams in CONMEBOL, and they have a really good side. One of their players is at PSG, which congratulations to PSG being Champions League winners and French League winners. Ivory Coast is no slouch. I think they're led by Karim Adeyemi and Ahmed Diallo. Those are really good attacking players. I think with those two up front, I think that's going to be an interesting game. But I'm going to give them a draw. I'm going to give it like a 1-1 draw. Ecuador is really good defensively, but I think the Ivory Coast is really good on the attack. So it kind of balances out in that stage. So I'm going to give them like maybe a 1-1 draw or a 0-0 draw. Next up, Sweden versus Tunisia. Sweden, Alexander Isak. You have Victor Groykes of Arsenal. Those two are going to give you some really good... They're going to give you some really good goals. They're going to score some goals. I know Alexander Isak at Liverpool did not have the season that he wanted ever since leaving Newcastle, but I think international form, I think he's going to be at his form at like Newcastle or Real Sociedad. Tunisia, this is going to be an interesting side. They can make some noise. I think Tunisia has a really strong side. I'm wearing the Tunisia jersey right now. They have a guy that played for Man United. His name was Hannibal. I don't know where he is now. I think either he's at United or he transferred. I think I'm gonna give it to Sweden. Sweden's attack is a lot better than Tunisia, and Tunisia is really good at in AFCON usually. They're not the best African side in my opinion, but I think Sweden's attack will overwhelm Tunisia's team with Groykes and Isaac. Next up, Spain, Cape Verde. Cape Verde's first World Cup in a while. Actually, this is their first time making the World Cup. Spain. Lamine Yamal, Xavi, Pedri, David Raya at goalkeeper. I know they don't have Carvajal. I know Dean Hudson did not make the side. That's how strong Spain is. Their attack, I think they're gonna have Morata, but guy that you gotta watch out for. Lamine Yamal. Lamine Yamal is gonna have himself a tournament. Yes, I am a Real Madrid fan, but Lamine Yamal is a dog. Nico Williams, when he's on the international stage, he's a completely different player. Cape Verde. Congratulations. They have a really good side. A lot of them play in Portugal. I think they had Bebe too, who was formerly at Manchester United, who led Curacao to their first World Cup. They had a really good AFCON. Not the last one, but I think the one in 24. Yeah, the one in 24. I think you got to be wary of that. However, I think Spain is going to overwhelm Cape Verde. Give me 5-0. Belgium versus Egypt. Okay. Doku, De Bruyne, Courtois at goal. At midfield. Doku, one of the best dribblers. One of the best Man City dribblers. One of the best dribblers in the Premier League. Belgium is always going to be a strong side. Egypt, they have Mohamed Salah. Omar Mamouche at Man City. He's been a really solid player at Man City. I think you got to be wary of Omar Mamouche. I think he left Egypt for a while, but I think he's back on the Egyptian national team. I think he's going to make a lot of noise for Egypt, as well as Mohamed Salah. But in terms of star power, I think Belgium does beat Egypt. Egypt could get a draw. It depends on how Belgium does, and depends how Lukaku does. If Lukaku plays really good, I think Belgium will also be unstoppable. But I see Belgium winning it. It's going to be like 2-1, 2-0. If Egypt scores, it's going to be either Mohamed Salah or Omar Mamouche. Saudi Arabia versus Uruguay. Well, Saudi Arabia had the shock of the last tournament in beating the current champions of the World Cup, Argentina, with that lethal strike in the 57th minute. It was such a beautiful strike. Uruguay, they have World Cup pedigree. They've won 2 World Cups, both in like the 1930s, I think. But nonetheless, their side is still strong, led by Fede Valverde. They have Darwin Nunez. Those two are really strong. Their goalkeeper, he played in Turkey. I forgot his name, but he's really good. Uruguay always puts out a strong side, and they're gonna be led by Fede Valverde of Real Madrid. So Uruguay likes to play very aggressive, and they have a defensive midfielder in Lucas Torreira. I think he made the call up, and I think he's going to be a really solid player in the World Cup. And if Uruguay wants to make a run, I think their midfield is going to play an important role. And I think Darwin Nunez in international competitions will score a lot of goals. I could see Uruguay winning it easily, like 3-0. Next up, Iran and New Zealand. We know what's going on between what is happening in Iran. The people want what they want in Iran, which is a new government, all politics aside. Iran's national team is quite interesting. Sardar did not get called up for the Iranian national team, but that's political decisions. Team is very politicized, especially what's going on right now. They are gonna enter I heard there's a rule that if the national team, if they enter the U.S., they have to leave the U.S. on the same day. Um, yeah, it's a lot of like political stuff into it. But let's talk about the Iran national side. Really good goalkeeper. I think they still have that goalkeeper from 2018 who saved Ronaldo's penalty. His style of play is save the ball and he starts attacks with his arm, with the throws. Um, New Zealand just has Chris Wood. To be honest with you, they have Chris Wood. Iran, they also have a really good attacker, and I think if Taremi gets, I think if Taremi got called up, I think Iran has a chance to get out of the group stage. I think Iran is a huge sleeper in getting out of their group. They always have a really good attack and always a good group stage, so Iran's gonna win it. Iran's a really strong national side, nonetheless. I'm gonna give them 3-0 against New Zealand. Next up, France versus Senegal. France versus Senegal. Senegal, in my personal opinion, I think they're AFCON championships. They played the 120 minutes and scored the goals. I think they deserve it. Ndiaye, Onana, Sadio Mane is still a force. Yeah, Senegal's a really strong side. They have a really good side. France, that attack. Barcola, Mbappe, Olise. Ooh, Doué on the bench. Who? Koundé at defense. Upamecano. That youth in France. And their goalkeeper, Milan, who was at AC Milan. France is one of the strongest sides in the tournament, and they made the final. What a final it was with Mbappe's hat trick. I think France is always going to be deadly, and I think France's attack is very dangerous. I'm going to say France wins 3-1. Iraq and Norway. Iraq has some Premier League stars. I think Iraq is a strong side. I think they have some players in the Prem. Iraq's first World Cup in a while. I don't know their squad too much. I know they had a guy that played in the Premier League for Ipswich. He's a really good player. I don't know too much about the Iraq side nationally, but I would like to support them. Norway, you obviously have Erling Haaland, who's one of the best strikers in the Premier League. He just scores a lot of goals. I think, my personal opinion, with sides like those, if they don't have like a really good support, actually I lied. Norway has Odegaard, who was at Arsenal, so he's one of their other better players on the Norwegian national team. If it's just two players, then I'd be worried, and Iraq could pull off an upset. I think Iraq could pull it off 1-0. I think Iraq could win it probably 2-1, to be honest with you. Norway's still a good side. Next up, we have Argentina and Algeria. Argentina, your current world champions. They also won CONCACAF too. They still have Messi, Julian Alvarez, Enzo Fernandez of Chelsea, Martinez and Aston Villa. I think he's going to leave Aston Villa. I think he's supposed to leave Aston Villa. Mascherano is Argentinian. Alvarez is from Atletico Madrid. He's a striker. Argentina's midfield is really good. Algeria, no one sleeps on Algeria. Algeria has a bunch of ballers. They have Ismail Mayer. Riyad Mahrez is still on that side. I think Algeria could give Argentina a fight, but I think it's going to go to Argentina. Argentina's youth is really good, and I think Iman Cabal is Algeria. I think Algeria will give Argentina a fight, but I think Argentina is still the stronger side against Algeria. All right. Austria and Jordan. I don't know too much about the Jordanian national team. I know they made the Asian Cup final and lost to Qatar. So they have a very strong side. Austria, they have David Alaba, who recently left Real Madrid. Sabitzer, who is at he was at RB Leipzig. I don't know where he is at now. They have a strong side. I think Jordan still wins it, probably 1-0. Arnautovic is from Austria too. I wonder if he's still on the national team. Okay, Portugal and the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Ronaldo's last ride. He starts off against the DR Congo. Portugal's midfield is deadly. Vitinha, João Neves, Bruno Fernandes, Nuno Mendes at the defense. That's a good side. And then they have... who's the guy in Man City? His name was... he's a really good defender, too. But you have Ronaldo, you have Leao. I wonder if Leao is still playing after he punched that Chile player. I think he might be missing that match day. But I think Joao Felix, those are good players. And rest in peace to Diego Jota. Rest in peace to Diego Jota. They're gonna really do it for Diego Jota, and there's no way to kick it off against the DR Congo, who has Aaron Wan-Bissaka at defense. They have a couple good attackers. But I think Portugal, in Ronaldo's last ride, and rest in peace to Diego Jota, they're going to really play for Diego Jota. I think Portugal's going to win it 2-0. England and Croatia, the rematch of the 2018 World Cup semifinals, where Croatia won it against England. England's always going to have a strong side with Jude Bellingham at Real Madrid. Harry Kane, the striker. Their goalkeeper is going to be probably Jordan Pickford. Their defense is going to be probably John Stones. Trent did not make the side, so someone else made it. Cole Palmer at attack. Eze, Bukayo Saka. England has a really strong side. Croatia is still led by Luka Modric. I think the question of Croatia is, can they make it out of the group? I think they will make it out the group stage, but it's, can you beat England? And I think England is a really strong side after losing 2 of the Euro finals. And Harry Kane has won trophies at Bayern Munich and is breaking records at Bayern Munich, and it's one of the best strikers in Europe. So I'm going to give it to England. I think England wins it 2-0. Next up, Ghana versus Panama. I am Panamanian, but Ghana... Okay, Ghana's side is interesting. They have good players on name, with the lead attacker being Mohamed Kudus. He's the best player in Ghana, in my personal opinion. He's at Tottenham currently. Panama, their best player is Marilla, who plays in Turkey. The interesting thing about Ghana is they have a really strong side on paper. They don't do too well in international competitions. Panama, this is their second World Cup. They do really well in the Gold Cup for some reason, despite a lot of their players not playing in strong European sides or playing in America. I could see Panama winning it. I'm not saying I'm being biased. I'm Panamanian, but I could see Panama winning it 1-0, and it's because of Ghana. But if Ghana wins, it'll be like because Mohamed Kudus scores like 3 goals against Panama. But Panama's gonna be interesting. Panama, I think they need the exposure for Europe. Last but not least, Uzbekistan versus Colombia. Colombia being led by James Rodriguez, Luis Diaz. Uzbekistan has Kavarov from Man City, and Uzbekistan does have a really good side. Our question is, can they handle Colombia's attack with especially Luis Diaz and James Rodriguez in the midfield in that defense? My personal opinion, I love the country. I love the nation of Uzbekistan. But I think Colombia wins it 2-1. 2-1 Colombia. I could see Uzbekistan pulling off a draw, maybe a 1-0 win, but give me Colombia 2-1. Thank you guys for watching my video of Group 1 predictions. I hope to see you guys again. Please like and subscribe.